Today I'm going to build an amusement park in my world, and I know you probably have a big question, and to answer it, I'm going to build it right here by my smallest house. I originally put this together with the idea being that this is the smallest house that has everything you could conceivably want, but then I realized, you know what, rather than this being a cool, nifty, futuristic house, what if we instead use it as a part of an amusement park? And so that's what I want to build today. The obvious thing that I know I should make is a roller coaster that leads you somewhere unpleasant, but what if we can, and obviously I'm going to have to do that, but how many ideas can we have on the way there? Well, let's find out right now. Let's start with a strength tester. This is something I always see in fairgrounds, and I think to myself, honestly, who is that for? Why is that fun? Who possibly thinks to themselves, yeah, this machine is gonna tell me I'm strong and I should believe it, because, you know, it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And so what we're going to do, after another quick visit to my crafting station, because I could do with some redstone lamps, is I'm going to make myself a strength tester that maybe works in a bit of a twisted way. Because instead of reassuring people about just how strong they are, what if I instead actually tested them? That's the idea behind the strength tester right here, and the way this is going to need to work is there's going to be a target block with a redstone torch attached to it. That redstone torch is then obviously going to have to go up a bunch of blocks, and as it goes up, we'll use the birch planks to do so. As it goes up, we place a redstone torch on each of these. The net effect of these and all the redstone torches is that when this block is punched, it should invert this redstone signal, which is going to slowly but surely go up all these blocks, and that means we can have something activate when someone who is strong enough punches it. What should that effect be? Well, let's find out, shall we? By the way, my inventory management is not a part of the amusement park today, but maybe it should be. We'll see about that as we go along. But for now, as you can see, this is the big tester. We're going to have a nice little space here, actually, for our redstone lamps, so that people think it's a traditional tester, but it should do some different things. Although, actually, oh, we're going to have a fun fact of all of these are going to start partially pre-lit, which will make it look even more appealing for someone who wants to press the button and see their strength. So yeah, I've always had this opinion that like amusement parks are interesting as ideas, but outside of like the very best ones that are actually using unique attractions, most of them aren't actually very fun. And there's kind of a problem to me of like, I don't mind when things are bad, I just don't like dishonesty. That's one of my big stances in life, is like, you know, if something's awful, but you're willing to concede it's awful, that's much better than the reverse, where we pretend that something is oh so amazing. And so what is the solution? Well, this right here is the solution. This is my this is my delightful little thing here that should, at the very top, have a redstone circuit be powered. I'm going to test if that is true. Will this redstone dust have any power? No, it will not. So instead we'll place a redstone torch up here. That redstone torch should, by default, have power onto it. Now that redstone torch can power we'll use some bamboo planks for this, just to make it nice and beautiful. Now that can power a little bit of redstone, which will start over here. And, although maybe we should start like round here and bring it back, but it'll start there, come over there, and then something's going to need to happen. I think the easiest way to do this is you just have a piston, which we'll put on the side of that redstone dust. Fun fact, you can do this if you can aim well enough. I cannot aim well enough. But we're going to have a piston, and that piston is going to be holding something up in the sky here. Before we do any... Okay, so right there, boom, perfect. Which means now what we have to do is put a block which is gravity affected on here. Oh, what's that? We have a chipped anvil. Well, this means that if you test your strength, you'll be assuming the entire time that this strength tester is here to test your strength in terms of, you know, like, oh, how strong are you? How strong can you punch? But actually what you'll be testing, I'm worried this might kill me actually, but actually what you should be testing is that, and boom, you'll find out just how strong you really are. And so this is my test of strength, and it's one of the many ideas I have for this amusement park, one of which involves a whole bunch of fletching tables. Fletching tables, when I first put them together, I assumed they would be useful, and so in 2019, I made this house with the, you know, use of the smithing table and the fletching table, knowing that both of those uses would come in the future. But, you know, sadly, Mojang has been making their own amusement park with ideas to do with me, and so what I'm instead going to have to do is make myself a bunch of fletching tables for my grand idea that I have. So we'll make some more. Just all of this can go right into fletching tables so that we can go to sleep, and in the morning, we can work on the second idea. Although it is worth mentioning that perhaps we should label these as we go along. If you're going to have a big grand design, in the same way that people know this is my smallest house, because of this historic sign, what if I labeled everything in the amusement park? In fact, what if I label the amusement park in itself, but to make sure that no one catches onto it if they're not expecting to, this is the amusement park, founded in 2025. now I can technically say, you know, if anyone, tries to sue me for having an anvil fall on their head, I can technically say that it was well signposted. You should have read the, the terms and conditions before entering, and that's entirely up to you. And, honestly, if you think about it, you would expect an amusement park to try and trick you in that way, so it's actually adding to the atmosphere and making this an even better build than it was before. So let's make some sticks, let's make some more bamboo planks, and let's make some bamboo signs so that we can label both our first idea over here, the test of strength. I guess this is a perfect place for it. Test of strength. Is that how you spell strength? It'd be better if we spelt strength wrong. And also, as is very important, to make sure that our signs aren't centered, every sign will end with 2 spaces and then 2 exclamation marks. This is just essential if you want to make your signs look a little bit wonky, like maybe someone didn't quite understand the language as they were writing it, which is essential when you're dealing with, parts of your amusement park that might be going in this way. So now let's go up, let's place our damaged anvil. And let's concede that, yeah, I think that if you're trying to be good and you fail, that's so much more disappointing than when something just is like, yep, I am not good and you cannot expect me to be good, because at least you know from the second one, right? So now I'm just going to place some of these blocks here. Again, we're gonna be playing around with this panda later, I'm sure. But for now, let's place our damaged anvil right at the top here. So another common theme park attraction, or at least fairground... Wait, how did that just break on the ground too? Minecraft really is working on its own amusement park. Like, this block, you can see the hitbox for this piston is using the whole block here, but apparently not for me. So instead, I'll just put a fletching table up here as a placeholder, as a reminder to come back here in the future. But yeah, another idea I had was the idea of a Hall of Mirrors. And I figured the best place for the Hall of Mirrors was kind of a thing I already had almost built. This is a big panda that I never built the back of because I think I ran out of black wool. And so what if I built it into a hallway of mirrors? Because as you can see, we've got like a thing here, and then we could curve round and go back through the other leg. And we could, we could teach people about the interesting world of their reflection. And so that's what we're going to do. The hallway of reflection. And like I mentioned, make sure we put the little bit of spacing in there and that just to make sure everything is perfectly off-centered as we now build this thing. So I'm going to put the basic black wool in now. We'll make sure that this goes as long as this is gone. So just like this, easy peasy. And then we'll do the same on this side. And then we just have to connect the 2 things up together. Make sure that it remains dark on the inside so your reflections can be seen. And then we'll be able to have something that we can all be very proud of. So we'll actually, we're going to have to remove probably these blocks too, even though I just placed some of them, so that we can connect this into that and have our hallway actually make some sense. So our hallway will look like this. Yep, easy peasy. And then on the outside, it needs to be at least 2 blocks wide. So continue all the way to the top. And then this should probably be just about good. We'll place all of the black wool going this way. And now we've mostly, not quite fully actually, I'm very, one of the beauties of Minecraft building is you never quite know how much wool you need until you've used it. But this is the blueprint for the hallway of mirrors, which will lead people to a very dark realization. But yeah, I think we need to, we'll fill in the floor, and we'll fill in those spaces later, using some extra wool that we'll get along the way. So yeah, this is the hallway of mirrors, and the goal is to teach people about themselves, but rather than showing them their physical selves, what if I taught people about their psychological selves? There's not really something like that exists right now as far as I'm concerned, and it's something we could do great by adding. But in the meantime, while I've got this already pre-ready placed, I want to work on a very Minecraft-specific attraction, because like I mentioned, Minecraft have been doing their own little abusement park-esque ideas. They've been beating me to this, if I'm being honest, and one of those that I think is genius is the fletching table. Giving us this idea for a block, and then saying, don't worry, the use is coming soon, and then pulling a classic, your mother when you're 8 years old and you say you really want to go somewhere fun, and she's like, don't worry, we'll go there soon, and you ask in like a month, and she's like, oh yeah, it's definitely still the plan, and you think, haha, she's just really good at pretending, and then it doesn't happen for years, and you realize that no, actually, she's really good at pretending only when caught. But anyway, the interesting thing here, really that's something that should go in the reflections tunnel. But I feel like the fletching table is this really interesting block, because in theory, the thing about this block that is notable is the fact that it's useful for villagers. I think that is, you know, a useful thing by itself. But every other block that villagers find useful has some block to the players. So this is a block that only the fletching, you know, table, only the fletching villager can get any use out of, which I find to be hugely interesting. And so what if we build an interior? It's actually going to be quite hard. We'll have to, like, build out like this. Okay, I didn't mean to put blocks there, but it's fine. What if we build an interior that leads people to the darkest realization that you can have? It's never getting updated. It's the truth. You need to see, you need to hear it. And this is the fletching table room. It could probably do with some more fletching tables to make it into something beautiful, though. So this is, I think these are our first 3 ideas. We have the secret use for the fletching table. You know what, let's go make some more signs to write this down. Our secret use for the fletching table, our hallway of mirrors, and our test of strength. Now at this point, I could call it a day and say, okay, now the big thing we need to do is build a roller coaster, right? I have the greatest idea for how to build a minecart track that would lead somewhere no one is expecting. Because, yeah, if we build the track around here, everyone's going to immediately be thinking magma, fire, lava, you know, it's going to be one of those things. But I had an idea of how to inflict something terrible that literally no one would expect. So, all of the uses for fletching tables revealed. And then, obviously, just like usual, a couple of exclamation marks. Make sure that people know what they're getting themselves into. So at this point, yeah, we could be like, yep, the minecart is the obvious next thing to build. But actually, I had a couple of other ideas. One of these is a bunch of slime blocks here. So I have a big boat there, and getting into the boat can only be done via a secret entrance, or, you know, realistically, it's 2025, you can fly in there. And so would it be cool if there was like a secret, you know, if there was like a clear indication that if you just ran at it from a certain angle, say this one right here, if you could just run at this spot from a very particular angle, maybe the slime blocks would actually jump you up there. This is something you can activate if you use pressure plates just the right way. And so what I'm going to do is specifically put my pressure plate down over there, and then I'm going to do nothing else. This is going to be the this is going to be the trampoline of reality. You know, we sometimes think. Also, sorry, my bad. We sometimes think, you know, as we look into the world that we live in, that like, oh yeah, we're on an upwards trajectory, and once you start going up, you can only. But no, this is a reminder that you will eventually come back down, and then you might start going up again. But the truth is, the bounces will always get smaller. It's up to you to bounce yourself if you want a trampoline. And this pressure plate is just here to make you think that maybe there's something more, but there's not something more. So yeah, this is. I'll put an extra couple of exclamation marks on the back here, just for some fun. Speaking of some fun, I think that we've done a very good collection of ideas, but I also think it's important. Also, how did that creeper possibly spawn? I could do with the gunpowder, I guess, but still. Very rude. So one of the important things that I think we could do well with is a therapy room. We're going to put the therapy room on the torch here. You can't do that. You can't place signs on torches. That's rough. That's terrible. So the way I want to do the therapy room is I want to make it look like it's the secret joy, you know, the secret good thing that underlies all of these bad things. This is something that is important in Minecraft as it is in life. So we're just going to take a random white block from like here. Probably don't need that white block anymore. And we're going to use it to make ourselves a painting. So I think that if you're going to have an amusement park, it's really essential that if all of these rides are just here to abuse people, you have one which is actually there to do good, right? And so this is, you know, hear me out. We're going to build ourselves one really good thing. Because the one thing everybody needs in their life, especially after going to something as tragic as this, I think it's fair to say that everyone could do with a little bit of healing, a little bit of spiritual therapy. And so what if, actually, let's, you know, this is my elephant, by the way. He's very lovely. He will join this later. But what if we took this area and we turned it into something special? The way we could do that is by placing a sign over here. And then I think that now counts as a block that we can place paintings on the side of. Just like that. And now, as long as you fly in here, so it's, again, no one's ever going to believe this, but you should be able to find the room of therapies. It's real therapy, I swear. And so, yeah, I've been actually learning about therapy rooms recently. I watched this great documentary called Yellow Jackets. It's on Paramount Plus. It's about girls who definitely survived in the wild. And one of the things that I realized after watching this documentary is just how important therapy can be. And so I want to make a room that's very easy to get... Oh, actually, maybe you should make it easy to get into and hard to get out of. That's actually a much more fun idea, isn't it? So we'll remove the painting from there, and we'll put the painting over here. Hopefully making it harder to work out how you even got in here in the first place, because it's just much harder to aim yourself out. So, it's real therapy, I swear, with a couple of exclamation marks, and then we put the real therapy in here. What does the real therapy consist of? I'm glad you asked, because this is therapy. He's my good friend, and by being in a room alone with him, I now have two choices. I can focus on the goat, and I can focus on my own thoughts. What am I going to do? The answer is nothing. But the important thing is that by spending time in here, eventually I'll have to go through therapy, right? And yeah, let me tell you, if you think it's cruel to keep a goat trapped in this area, you are free to bring him all the way back to his homeland in the mountain biome, and that is definitely a type of abusement. I tried to fly one via the Nether, and that went poorly. Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to come back and fix that later. Oh no, 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 not again, not again. Oh, Then I tried to bring one naturally, and that also went horrifically. Okay, this is the second time I'm gonna have to just trust that the goat will come with me if I jump off the edge. Come on. Oh yeah, just about, just about. Oh, definitely lost the goat in there somewhere. Ooh. And then the third time I thought I was fine and I had two therapy goats, but one of them just, you know... Oh, but what? Ah! Literally, I clicked specifically the... This is why you shouldn't play Minecraft on your computer. It just doesn't... The machine that you play your spreadsheets on, the machine that you use to do your taxes, should not be the same machine that you play games on. And the reason is because the same button that is used to open a window, let's say because you're trying to do something, is the same button that will kill your goat that you spent so long trying to get. Why is that reasonable? Anyway, the amusement park is working really, really well, which is exactly what I want to be seeing. And so now what I'm going to focus on is finishing up this little panda and making sure that it does look like a panda from the outside, including all of these blocks right here. Gotta make sure that they connect, because from the outside, this is meant to look like it's a certain type of structure, but from the inside, what it's meant to look like is, well, I mean, a hall of darkness. A hall where all you can see is self-reflection. And speaking of self-reflection, I think that as we build all the blocks in, I think that it should be kind of fun that you should go through here wondering like, ooh, what's gonna happen? And then at the very end of it, we should have the very real, you know, reflection that we all need to have, which is that, you know what? Some of the people in your life don't like you, but actually only tolerate you. Yeah, and I think that having that message, I think having this message on a sign is something that we kind of all want to have. Also, speaking of reflection, it might be now a good time to mention, like, while we're here in the amusement park anyway, because, you know, we're on this, like, such an old build here, and it's kind of a funny thing, because I remember, like, back in the early days when I started this channel, you know, like, it was, like, quite early on, but I remember people used to, like, mishear how I said my intro. I used to speak really, really quickly in videos, and so when I was saying, like, hello, my BX Zebra, like, people would, like, hear it really, you know, like, me saying so quickly, and they'd hear me say, like, cat instead, and it was just, it was the weirdest thing, because I'm fairly sure everyone knows, like, the moment you start actually, you know, looking at my skin, and if you look at the YouTube subtitles, they'll explain exactly what I'm saying. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that one, and it's kind of fun that, like, in that same way that we make mistakes about the people in our life, the goats in our lives, and even the blocks in our lives, and that hopefully don't stay there for very long. But as we make these mistakes about these blocks and items, we also make mistakes about even the videos we watch, thinking that, you know, someone could be named an entirely different animal, which they clearly are not. There are lots of very goofy mess ups that have happened like that. I've even had people in my own personal life, even fans after years, be like, "Wow, I actually never knew that you were a zebra toy cat. I always assumed, that something else was going on there." And yeah, that's why it's important just to check in every now and then, be like, should I check my assumptions? Should I confirm the things I know are in fact true? Because you might not like the answers, but it's still important to find them anyway. So now we're just gonna build, I think actually these walls being this height is great, and then we'll come through this little doorway here, and that's when we'll see the sign that will really hit home what's happening here. And so now I think we've done a very good job in this, in our abusement park so far. I think that there is still obviously space to add more, because, I've got things like my beautiful storage solution right here. I've got the ability to store bundles in bundles all the way around, but I also have the one thing that every, like any themed park needs, and that is a ride. And so let's start working on it right now. There's this big empty space over here that I think could go really well for having a little, ride attached to it. And so let's have one of those right here. We're going to use some of our wonderful blocks. In fact, let's use a combination of all of the blocks from this area. So a fletching table, some black wool, I'll use a white wool, and then you know what? I'll use some birch wood as well, because I am just hanging out with this anyway, right? So then we'll build a little bay for our cart to go into, just like this. Looks great to me. And then we'll place a birch block just down there as the final exit to this. Then I'm going to take all of my iron that I brought with me, make it into iron ingots, and then I guess we'll just make some sticks so we can make some rails, because let me tell you, when I say this is going to be one of the most fun minecart rides ever, I'm telling you the truth. And at this point I can say, yeah, I've got this great idea, but I want it to be a surprise. I don't want you to see what this idea is, and so you're going to have to get it on the marketplace if you want to enjoy this. Is what I would say if I was really trying to max out the abusement of this park. But I'm going to level with you right here, right now. Oh, I can't do that. I have to level with myself about how minecart rails work. So we'll put that there. It's a shame you can't put rails on signs. That would be a fun little feature. But let's go in here. Let's pick up some blocks. And let's say that, no, I'm not actually going to say wait till the map comes out and then play it for yourself. I wanted you to see just how delightful my idea was. And so here's an exclusive video of my first abusement park guest, Terry, going through and realizing the worst thing that can happen isn't fire or magma, but is actually instant death, including all of your stuff, because this world has a hole to the void. That's right, my terrifying hole is paying extra dividends, and indeed, I hope that the abusement park as a whole does. I think that this should be the most disappointing park that you can go to, and I hope that I have fulfilled the disappointment on the highest levels possible. And indeed, if you do want to explore this for yourself and even enjoy the roller coaster of sadness, then you can get it on the next update that will be coming out for Toy Cat's Let's Play World. If you're curious, we do that every time there's a major Minecraft update. However, 1.22 is being a bit elusive right now, and so we might have to work out like a different time frame for it. But when 1.22 does eventually roll around, you might just be able to enjoy this for yourself. I mean, enjoy is a strong word. But speaking of enjoyment, I hope you enjoyed this video, or rather, I hope you didn't. I've been IBX Toy Zebra, your favorite internet zebra for all things Minecraft, and hopefully, I'll see you in the next video. And as I'll say, my signature catchphrase I always get around to, you know, what noise does a zebra make? That was my best guess. They can't neigh, right? What noise does a zebra make? Yep, that's what I always say, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode where we can say it some more. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!